We have all been there. We all have one. We've all done it. We paid the price. What's yours? What's one of the dumbest things you've ever done or said? Or maybe one of those things you believe to be true and then someone told you and you felt like an idiot? We've all done it. We've all done it. I don't care how smart you are. We all done something. It was between my junior and senior year of high school. Some of you may know I grew up in West Texas, far west, out in the desert, no water. Closest city was El Paso. We're a border city right on the Mexico border of Juarez. And it's just dark, barren, flat, dusty, hot desert. That was my home. That's what I did. Nothing but rattlesnakes and dead bushes. And between my junior and senior year, my brother gives me a call because he had made his way out here. And he goes, hey, if you want it, I got you a job in a place called Fallbrook. And anything that ended with brook, I'm like, well, that sounds cool because we don't have any brooks where I come from. And he's all, come out to California, spend the summer. My father-in-law runs a ginormous grove service. He's got over 100 of these little Isuzu and pickup trucks and Toyota, and they go out in the groves, and they clean up all the groves. They do grove maintenance. I wasn't quite sure what a grove was. He's all, but you can be the yard boy. You're going to clean stuff, put together stuff, take care of equipment. He needs a kid just to run the yard for him. I'm like, no, I'm in. So I get on a bus, that's how rich I was, and I made my way all the way across to California, and I come out here, and one of my jobs was that all these little pickup trucks had all kinds of equipment in the back for the grove service, and they all had little numbers on the truck. And they would go in a rotation, and every 3 weeks, I should get through all the trucks. So when they come in at the end of the day, I would just get and line up about 10 of these little trucks, and I would make sure that all the fluids are checked. I would go through and clean out the trucks. I'd get rid of any trash. I'd make sure the windshields, windows wash. So when the crew comes the next day, they're like, oh, someone's taking care of the vehicles. That was my job. And while I'm doing that, I'm finding over and over again behind the seats of these tiny little trucks that there's all this fruit that's gone bad, like it's black and it's rotten. And so I would take it out way down in the back of this maintenance yard, and I would throw it up against this fence that was a barbed wire fence that was right in front of someone built a cinder block wall, and it would splatter and make all kinds of cool sounds and colors, and I would just throw rotten fruit at the wall. So this is going on for my most month at work. I come into the yard one day, everyone's gathered to get their positions, get their stuff. There's over 100 men, and there's arguments that are happening. There's a little fight that's breaking out. Now everything's being done in Spanish. Lo siento mucho porque yo español es muy malo. Yo necesito una profesor. And so my Spanish, especially at the time, was very bad. And I'm picking up words, most of them not good, but I'm trying to listen, and I'm like, I don't know what the fight's going on. And so I looked at the boss, and I go, hey, boss, man, what's going on, man? People are upset. He goes, oh, things are very bad today. I go, what? He goes, someone's been stealing all the workers' avocados. And I'm like, oh, what's an avocado? And he looks at me and he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, I have no idea. He goes, this is what we do. We work in the groves. And I'm like, I've never been out there. I stay in the yard. I've come from the desert. There's no water. We don't grow anything. So I don't know what you guys are going out to do. And he's all, our men are allowed in the groves to take a certain amount of avocados. They keep them till they're ripe. But as soon as they get ripe, someone's stealing them from the trucks. And there's an argument going on. I go, so what do these avocados look like? He go, well, they're a little round and they're green and they're bumpy and they're hard. But they put them in paper bags behind their seats. And over time, they get black and kind of soft and mushy. And that's when it gets ripe. Hey, boss man, do you want to take a walk with me? And you're like, yeah. We leave the fight scene that's going on. We go through all the trucks. We go down the very back of the yard, the very bottom of the fence, and I show him my chain link fence where I have a fruit fest every time the fruit starts getting soft. And he looks and he's all, what is this? And I said, when they get black and soft, I thought it was bad. So I throw them all up against it and they splatter green. And it's kind of cool. And he's all, you got to clean this up. They're going to kill you. I'm like, are you serious? He goes, yeah. And he goes, and I don't know anything about this. And he turned and he walked away. I am 17 years old. And it's the first time in my life I figured out where guacamole comes from. I've eaten guacamole. I don't know what a guacamole is. I don't know that it came from an avocado. Now you're looking at me going, how dumb are you? And my response is, that dumb. That dumb. For any of you that grow avocados on your property, you know to grow an avocado, it takes a lot of what? Water. Those trees take a ton of water. I grew up in a place where there was no water, nothing. It's parched, hot desert. That's where I grew up. Never saw an avocado tree. Never saw an avocado. Haven't you gone to the grocery store? Not a dude in West Texas. I know my mom goes to the grocery store. I've definitely never gone into any vegetable section. I didn't know what an avocado was. So when I found paper bags that were getting dark and kind of soft, I was just chucking them. And little did I know, I was causing a civil war up on top. You know why? I was ignorant. I was stupid. And I'm there looking going, is that a true story? I told this for church years ago, and I had so many people go, Chris, I'd like to trust you, but I don't think anyone's that dumb. And I'm like, trust me, I'm that dumb. I'm that dumb. For you, what was one of those things that you thought growing up? Okay, so I'm a youth pastor up in East LA. I just remember this. We're taking a trip, and we're heading up to Magic Mountain. And one of my dear students, I love this girl, but she's looking out the window of the bus, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's the moon. You know, there's certain days where the moon is out and the sun is out, and she saw the moon. And she starts panicking. And one of my volunteers runs up and says, I think we got a little problem back here. And I got a girl that's having an anxiety attack. And I'm like, what's going on? She's seen the moon. And I'm like, okay. She's a junior in high school in LA. And I may be blowing this for some of you. So if it's you here, no offense. She thought the moon and the sun were the same object. It got bright during the day, and it got dim at night. And when she saw the moon for the first time with the sun, her whole cosmos blew up in her mind. And soon everyone in the bus found out why she was freaking out, and they're like, you thought the moon and the sun were them? Like, LA high schools. What for you? For you. What was something you did? And they're like, I can't believe I did this. I'm usually smarter, but on this day, I did this. Or something you believed or thought, or something that you actually said out loud. And then when you find out, you're like, Lord, frick. Take about 4 minutes. Gather 3 or 4 people. Before you start talking, now look, we're not going to go in a circle. Some of you are like, I'm not going to say. And trust me, some of you have done some really dumb and stupid stuff that probably shouldn't be in church. Leave that one outside of church, okay? Just look at your buddy. I'll tell you on the way home. Leave that one. But take a couple minutes. If 1 or 2 of you have something to share. What was something dumb that you thought that you found out wasn't true? Something you did, and you're like, I can't believe I did this. Or something you said, and it came back to haunt you. Right now, just turn around. Grab 2, 3, 4, 5 of you. Make sure everyone's got a circle. What'd you do? What'd you do? All righty. Here's what I want to know. I don't want you to volunteer yourself, but somebody in your group, you're like, oh, this dude was dumb. Or what she did, this was just, you got to volunteer them. Right here, this whole group's like, you got to talk to Mariah. Mariah, what'd you do? It's embarrassing, isn't it? Can't believe you were that stupid.
It just happened.
It was tonight?
Right now. Yeah.
Was it?
Like right now. Wait, what did I say?
You thought Maine was a state.
Oh, I didn't know Maine was a state.
You didn't know Maine was a state?
I didn't know Maine was a state, but then I thought Boston was in Maine, but then I thought Boston.
I think we're still on that track right now, aren't we? Did you think it was a country? Mariah, some help with this. Oh, look at this. Thanks. I didn't know I was going to do this either. Okay, we got here. I'm coming to the back row. I'm going here, and I'm coming to the back row. Who?
This one.
Please tell me your name.
Lexi.
Lexi, please tell me what you did or once you thought or once you said. By the way, first of all, do you know that Maine's a state?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I thought Detroit was a state.
She thought Detroit was a state. Okay. There's more? What's more? Hey, you're lying in church now.
Tell the Boston.
And you thought Boston was what?
One time I asked what the capital of Boston was.
Does anyone know what the capital of Boston is? No, none of us. Who is our... Sir, what's your name, please?
Kenny.
And?
I didn't know that scrambled eggs were made with the whole egg. I thought it was just the yolk. So I made scrambled eggs where I would like balance it back and forth and just put the yolk in and put like 4 yolks in and then scramble it together. And I was like, it's terrible. And then one day I did it in front of my boss who called over the entire staff to watch me make a scrambled egg. And they bullied me.
What'd you do with the egg white? You just
I
tossed it?
tossed it. I didn't think you needed it.
I've heard of omelets, egg white only. I've never heard of an omelet yolk only. All right, we're going back row. Give me one more in here. Bro, they're calling you out, man. I'm sorry. I have to go there. Oh, spotlight too. Name.
I thought chocolate milk came from black cows.
Lord. He thought chocolate milk came from black cows. Oh, we got a couple others that agreed. They're like, I was there. Yeah, he's there. Dudes. Okay, last one, front of the stage.
No, we didn't.
Malachi, tell us your name.
I didn't have a story. I'm Malachi. Frick. Hey,
Do you know, first of all,
you
do
know
what
what?
the capital of Boston is?
No.
No, neither do I. Go ahead.
What is it? I would like to know. But okay, nah. So we were TPing, and as we were walking away from the house, we hear a car revving down the street, chasing us, and so we run into my van, and so I'm the getaway driver, unfortunately. So I put the car in neutral on accident, and the parking brake is still on, and so I'm hitting the gas, and I'm like, why is the car not going? And so they speed behind us, park, they start to get out of their car. Parker shifts it into park, and it's still not going because the parking brake's on.
Wow.
And then we get chased a couple blocks. And yeah.
Wow. And are you still driving the kidnapper van?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Done. My sister came home one night, and she said, Dad, the van's glowing. And he's like, what? She goes, the van is glowing, and it's making all kinds of noises. So I was in middle school at the time. My sister is 6 years older. We all go running outside. She had drove the family van. She had driven all the way home with the emergency brake on. So it had heated up the brake drums and pads so much that in the dark, they were so hot they were glowing. And of course, that metal's making that and hissing noise. And so we're like, oh, Satan's in the car. And my dad's like, everybody inside. The girl's dumb. And so we've all done it. We've all had a time or place where we've said something, we've done something, we thought something like chocolate milk or the capital of Boston. We've all been to a place where I'm like, man, I can't believe I did that. Tonight is one of those messages that your fearless leader, Jeff, is up at a camp up in the mountains. He's been doing this for years. It's a commitment of his. And he goes, Chris, I got to be away from the Jordan. Is there any way you can do Thursday night? And first of all, I'm like, I love the Jordan, but it's like the coolest group at North Coast. And I am so uncool. I stick out like a sore thumb. All my insecurities just jump. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be in front of that crowd. He's all, good, so you do it. And he's all, here's the passage I want you to teach on. And when I read it, I thought, oh my gosh. You ever know there's certain Bible passages, especially if you're teaching, you go, oh, some people are going to like this. It may apply to a few people. Some of you may want to hear it. But it's rare that you get a passage and you go, everyone in this room's in. Everyone. I don't care if you're checking out Christianity for the first time tonight. I don't care if you became a Christian just a month ago. I don't care if you've grown up in a Christian home your whole life. This is one of those passages that simply says this. Would you like to have wisdom? Here's what wisdom is. And that's all this passage is. Whether you believe in God or not. This is the passage that says, wouldn't you like to be a person of wisdom? No, listen. Right away, there's a lot of you that's like, oh, that doesn't apply to me. I've never been that smart. This isn't about intellect. This isn't about being that smart. This is about wisdom, and they're two different things. I've never been the smartest guy in the room. I could be in a room by myself, and I'm still not the smartest guy in the room. No one's ever heard me teach, and afterwards they're like, wow, that guy's an intellectual. Never happened in my life. I've taught a lot of times and people are like, does that guy ever go to school? Does he have? And I'm like, that can happen. I've never been known as a smart guy, but decades ago I realized I want to pursue wisdom. And it has nothing to do with your IQ. So this is for all of us tonight. All of us can sit back and go, yeah, I'd love to say, and I'd love for people to say, that gal, she's wise. That dude's got some wisdom. Who doesn't want that? To do that, let me just tell you the difference between the two. I got to put on my old man specs, by the way. And yeah, they look like swim goggles, but I don't care. I kind of like the white ones. Intelligence, typically measured through an IQ test and academic achievements. Intelligence refers to the mental sharpness, the problem-solving abilities, and often the retention of information. That's intelligence. However, wisdom is about applying knowledge in a way that reflects understanding and empathy. Now get this. Wisdom isn't about having a bunch of knowledge that you apply. Wisdom is just taking whatever knowledge you have and applying it with empathy and understanding. Intelligence is defined as the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. Wisdom, however, is simply the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. So here's one of the dilemmas I have about talking to the Jordan about this. I realize I'm in front of a room that doesn't have a ton of life experience. You've got your 17, 18, 20, 24, 25 years of life experience, but no one's sitting here as a wrinkly old person like, oh, let me tell you, in my 90 years. You don't have that type of experience. So what do you do learning wisdom if you don't have a ton of life experience to go with it? You see, experience comes from what we've done. Most of the time, wisdom comes from what we've done badly. I've learned a lot. I've done a ton of dumb things in my life. But you can get experience by simply being open and learning from others. It's been said a wise man learns by the experience of others. An ordinary man learns by his own experience, and a fool learns from no one's experience. I love that. Someone once said that it requires wisdom to understand wisdom, that the music is nothing if the audience is deaf. In other words, if you don't have wisdom, you're not going to understand it. I don't believe that's true. I believe the Bible says all you need to do is seek wisdom, have a desire for wisdom. And tonight we're going to paint by numbers. It's only a few verses that says, let me tell you, there's two types of wisdom. There's godly wisdom that's going to have incredible benefit in your life. And there's the wisdom, the thought, the perceiving ideas of culture that says, no, here's how you view life. And we're going to be able to match them up. I don't know if Jeff usually does the fill in the blanks, but in my office this afternoon, I sat down, I took my outline, and I just made little fill in the blanks for you. I figure you're not going to remember me or the message, but you can all walk away with a little fill in the blank and go, okay, that's what I need to know about wisdom. It's a paint by numbers. So if you got a Bible, we're in James 3. We're only doing a couple verses. James 3, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. 6 little verses. James 3, basically 6 sentences. In my Bible, I wrote down wisdom from the bunk bed. Now, why would I call this wisdom from the bunk bed? Wisdom from above. No, you're wrong. That was good, though. That's good. Why would I call this wisdom from the bunk beds? And? Bachinga! Who is James in the Bible? James is the half-brother of Jesus. Now, coming from an entire Catholic family and background growing up, which I'm not putting down Catholicism at all. I know a lot of Catholics that know the Lord, walk in the Spirit, and have an amazing relationship. I also know a ton of my family that are Catholics, and it's religion and religion only. I also know a lot of people that come to North Coast, and it's religion and religion only. And I also know people at North Coast that walk in the Spirit. I'm not crazy and hung up on titles at all. But for where I grew up, she was the Virgin Mary. We always pray to the Virgin Mary. And I never questioned it because I never actually read the Bible. Mary was a virgin. When what was conceived in her was from God, she gave birth to a son and called him Jesus, Emmanuel. He'll be the Savior of the world. However, once Jesus was born, Mary and Joseph did what young married couples do. And they had multiple other kids. There's at least 4 of Jesus' brothers and sisters mentioned, at least 5 different places in the story of Jesus all throughout the Bible. She was a virgin when she had Jesus, but she didn't stay that way because she was married to Joe. So wisdom from the bunk beds. James grew up sharing a bunk bed with Jesus. How would you like that as a sibling? Anybody ever grow up with siblings that were smarter than you? More successful than you? Did better in school than you? More academics than you? I had 3 brothers and sisters. They all did better than me at everything. I didn't have anything I did better but get in trouble in football. But that didn't count in my family. And it was always like, why can't you be more like Mark? Why can't you be more like Danny? Can you imagine growing up at home? Why can't you be more like Jesus? Oh, sorry, I can't walk on water. Sorry, the water's still water, not 19%. And so you've got this, and yet when he saw what his brother did, who he was, when he saw his brother not just get killed, but rise from the dead, James becomes the leader of the church in Jerusalem. James now puts all the pieces together. And now James, growing up in the bunk beds with Jesus, says, let me tell you what wisdom looks like. So this comes from one heck of a source. We are getting wisdom from the bunk beds. We are in James chapter 3. I don't have the scripture on the screen, but here we go in verse 13. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let me ask you the question. Who wants to be wise and understanding in their life? Some of you undecided? Detroit, are we? Yeah, we're good? We're good? All of us want to be wise and understanding. Because what's the opposite? The opposite of the question is, who wants to be stupid and clueless all their life? Don't. Who wants to be wise and understanding? As opposed to, who wants to be stupid and clueless? You want wisdom? You want to be known as a woman of wisdom and understanding? You want your kids to go up and be, who do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be like Mom. Why? Because she's just the wisest woman I know. She seems to know what to do in all situations. Yeah. Don't you want to have some little dude that says, Dad, I think you're the smartest guy I know. And you and I both know you didn't make grades like that. But at the age of 5, what's that kid trying to say? My pop's got wisdom. He seems to lead us differently. He's got understanding. I may be clueless about higher mathematics and some of the hard sciences, but I want my kids to be able to say, hey, when it came to every problem our family faced, we just went to Dad. We just went to Dad. I love now having a daughter that just got married last year. I shouldn't be talking about this, it's probably recorded. And I love having a son-in-law that from time to time in just his first year pulls me aside and go, hey, Pops, so I'm thinking about this. What do you think? I never pry into their marriage. When I see something going on, I never say anything. But man, if you ask, I'm there. And I love that already. I got a relationship with this son-in-law who knows I'm not the brightest dude. But when he's getting into work problem situation or finance, he just loves bouncing them off me. Who wants to have wisdom and understanding? That's how this starts. Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in humility. That comes from wisdom. Okay, get ready to fill in the blank. If you got a pen, pencil, write it down. There's 2 types of wisdom, so you got to choose carefully. You want to follow what the Bible says is godly wisdom. That's great. You want to follow worldly wisdom. True wisdom is what? We just read it. Let them show it by their good life, deeds done in humility. That comes from wisdom. You see, true wisdom is much more about how we live than what we know. I don't expect to get old Baptists in here, but I should get an amen from everyone that's got a 2.0 or lower right now. Wisdom is much more about how we live than what we know. Now listen, no, you valedictorians, listen. Those of you that are making A's at the Palomar University, yes, I call it Palomar University because I'm a mighty alum from 35 years ago. Yeah, there you go, Palomar University. Wisdom isn't the opposite of intellect. Intellect isn't the opposite of wisdom. You can be incredibly smart and not be wise. Don't say any names, okay? But have any of you ever met someone that's really smart, but just walks around like one of the dumbest people in the world? We've all seen them. We've all seen them like, that person's so smart, they're clueless. On the other hand, I think we all know some people that go, I don't know if they ever made it through high school. I know they never did any formal education past that, but let me tell you, if I had an issue, I'd go to that person. They're not mutually exclusive. The best is having the best intellect you have, but wisdom is how to apply it. And so what the Bible is sitting here saying is, let me tell you how you know what wisdom is. It doesn't come across on an IQ test. It's much more about how we live than what we know. Let them show it by their good life. The difference is knowing the right answer or making the right choices. Wisdom is about making the right choices, not just having the right answer. Henry Ford, the great automaker early 1900s in America, asked the electrical genius Charlie Steinmetz to build the generators that would end up operating the Ford factory and the assembly line for the automobile. One day the generators ground to a halt. Ford called all the repairmen that he could find, And yet over the course of an entire day, no solution could be found, and the generator sat silent, and so did his auto making line. So Ford called Steinmetz, the inventor of the generators himself, who tinkered with the machines for about an hour and a half. Then he threw the switch. The generators whirled back to life. Ford got back to building cars. 9 days later, Henry Ford got a bill for $10,000 from Steinmetz. This is early 1900s, folks. $10,000. Henry Ford was flabbergasted. He became angry. Rather than telegramming or getting word to him, he went over and met Steinmetz face to face. This tight-fisted car maker inquired, "Why in the world are you at my plant for an hour and a half and I get a $10,000 bill?" Steinmetz quietly replied, "For tinkering with the generators, I'll only charge you $10. For knowing where and how to tinker, I charged you $9,990. People, that's wisdom. Knowing what to do with what you know. How to apply what you know. Oh, everyone's got a brain. Everyone's got some smarts. Wisdom is saying, I know what to do with that. I know where to tinker with that. And I know where to stay away with that. You see, wisdom number 2 is cloaked in humility, not arrogance or pride. It's cloaked in humility. You want to be a person of wisdom and understanding? Start making a checklist. I got to show it by how I live, not by what I know. It's got to be cloaked in humility, not arrogance or pride. Let them show it by deeds done in humility. Some of your Bibles may have meekness there. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be called meek. I'm a West Texas dude. You call me meek, I need to pop you in the jaw to tell you otherwise. I thought meekness was weakness. Meekness isn't weakness. Meekness is power and strength under control. The Greek word for meekness has to do with taming a wild beast, bringing a wild beast into submission, taking a wild stallion, bringing it into the corral, and taming it to the point where you can ride it and control it. That's a picture of meekness. It's strength and power under control. See, we live in a day and age where it seems that sometimes the smarter you are, the bigger the platform, the bigger the position you have, the more you lord it over people with pride and arrogance, the more you tend to look down on people. And the Bible says, you know what, biblical wisdom, it clothes itself with humility, not arrogance, not pride. It puts the attention on others, not on itself. I've tried to teach my kids. They're now 24, 22, 19, about to be 20. I'm old. And I said, there's 2 ways you can walk into any room. You can walk into any room and simply have this mindset of, here I am, here I am. Or you can walk into any room and have a mindset of, where are you? Where are you? So when you walked into the Jordan tonight, when those doors opened and you came through the back, was your mindset, here I am? When am I going to be noticed? Who's going to come to me? Who's going to recognize me? When do I get my share? When do I get mine? Or did you walk into the Jordan tonight and going, where are you? Who's the person that needs to be greeted? Who's the person that needs to be encouraged? Who's the person that's sitting by themselves? The one thing I love about the Jordan is we draw so many people, so many walks of life. The one thing I hate, it means sometimes a lot of people, it takes a lot of nerve to walk in this, to have a couple hundred young adults and to know you're going to be alone. And the greatest fear of someone that comes in here by themselves is that they just might have to sit by themselves. Now, some of you, it's because your friends didn't come with you. Some of you are like, I got a lot of friends, I'm by myself. Or some of you are like, I just don't like people, leave me alone. That's great. But let me tell you, all of us want to be noticed. All of us want to be encouraged. Years ago, I had a story of a young man I met out there in the plaza afterwards. It was his first night at the Jordan. He goes, well, it's my 4th night. I go, why'd you say it was your first night? He goes, I've never been inside. I go, what do you mean you've never been inside? He goes, I've drove to the parking lot 3 different times and I've never gotten out of my car. I go, man, are we that scary? And he said, yeah. It's a big room. It's a lot of people. I was scared to death of walking in this place. I didn't know what was going to go on. I didn't know if I would fit. I didn't know how things would be. So tonight was the first night I sat through one of the programs. Oh. You know what wisdom is? Wisdom wears humility. Wisdom walks into every room and doesn't say, here I am. Notice me. Who's going to notice me? Who's going to notice me? Wisdom walks into every room and says, where are you? Where are you? Who can I put first? Who needs to be encouraged? Oh, God knows we all need to be encouraged. But wisdom says, what about you? See, wisdom is taking what you know about life and you combine it with a sensitivity and empathy that says, but here's what people need. And no, wait, because the Bible's going to say, man, you want to start walking in wisdom. Watch what's going to come back. Number 3, on wisdom. True wisdom is not just doing the right thing, but doing it the right way. It's doing it the right way. Here at North Coast, this is one of our staff mottos. We always will put the right way ahead of the right thing. It doesn't mean we do the wrong thing, but wisdom is not just doing the right thing, but doing it the right way. There's a right thing and there's a right way. Let me tell you, one of my pet peeves with Christianity today is people that get all fired up with truth. We have to defend the truth. We have to bring the truth into culture. And you can defend the truth the wrong way. And if you're standing for God's truth the wrong way, you're doing it wrong. Doing the right thing the wrong way is wrong. And we've made an art in Christianity today about standing on God's truth, and that makes it okay for me to be unloving to you, to your people group, to your way of life. And I hear Christians go, but Chris, we're standing for the truth. I'm well, so did Jesus, by dying for people. I didn't see him looting a crusade. I didn't see him ripping on any walk of life. I saw him loving to the point where they wanted to kill him. See, there's the right thing and there's the right way. And if we're ever doing the right thing the wrong way, we're doing it wrong. And this is immediately the wisdom that comes from the bunk beds. What comes from the bunk beds then is James saying, see, if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. If you're doing this out of selfish ambition, bitter envy, don't boast about it. Don't say, but I'm doing the right thing. It's the wrong way. The beauty of Jesus is that he was truth with an unheard of, unparalleled, uncompromised love for all people. And if you're doing something in truth and not love, you're not doing like Jesus. And if you're loving without the truth, you're not doing it with Jesus. Jesus was both. You can't have one or the other. And James immediately says, I watched him grow up. I saw who he was. Let me tell you, if you're doing this out of selfish ambition, if you're doing this with bitter envy, if you're climbing the ladder by putting others down, oh, dudes, we make a sport of this. Ladies too, but we own it. I always joke about myself having a spiritual gift of sarcasm. Sarcasm and joke is never funny if you're laughing at someone. Sarcasm is hilarious when we're all laughing together. But we love putting other people down at the expense of others to make ourselves look funny, to get a laugh. He goes, look, if you're doing anything out of this bitter envy, if you're doing anything out of selfish ambition, don't boast about it. You're denying the truth. Don't say I'm standing for the truth when you're standing against others. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. I don't know what all that means, but it sounded huge. See, there's false wisdom. False wisdom has 3 components. Number 1, it's earthly. In other words, it has only this life in mind. There is wisdom from the world about how you got to look out for number 1, about how you got to get ahead, about how no one else is going to help you up, so you better help you up. There is wisdom from the world that says it's about you getting yours, don't care about anyone else, step over whoever you need to step over to get to the top, that the end justifies the mean. We have wisdom from the world. He goes, but let me tell you, it's earthly. It's only taken into account this short timeline of your life. Don't you realize that you are an eternal being? Don't you realize that we're all going to take our last breath? That this carcass that I'm living in is going to decay, but the soul goes on. I love the way that C.S. Lewis says that we are all eternal beings that for a short time have a body. See, earthly wisdom takes into account what you can get out of your 50, 60, 80 years of life. Godly wisdom has a much bigger timeline and a much bigger reward system. It says earthly wisdom, or second, false wisdom, is unspiritual. It only seeks to gratify the flesh. See, what does it mean when it says that type of wisdom is unspiritual? It's earthly, it's unspiritual. Well, what's the opposite of spiritual? Our flesh. There's a wisdom of the world that seeks to gratify the flesh. Man, you click on what you want to click on. You swipe what you want to swipe. You do what you want to do. Don't let anyone tell you it's wrong. You have every right to gratify the flesh. He goes, that's the world? That's temporary. That's earthly. That's so unspiritual. He says that earthly wisdom is not just unspiritual, it's demonic. I was scratching my head on this one for a while. I was reading some of the other commentaries, some of the other dudes that are much smarter than me. Really, what demonic means is it opposes all the best that God has for you. It opposes all the best that God has for you. God doesn't want you to conform to some legalistic view to make you some prude or loser. God wants to give you the most amazing life possible so that others around you can see that life and say, I want in. See, I didn't get that growing up. I was brought up in a Catholic church. Then I was forced to go to a very Christian church because my family got kicked out of the Catholic church. It's a long story. Come from a line of people that have done dumb stuff. Let's just put it that way. It's hereditary. And so then my parents went way off the deep end with this way conservative Christian, and I hated being a Christian because I knew God wanted you're going to look like an idiot in life. No one ever told, if God wanted Christians to look like an idiot, there'd be no Christians. God wanted Christians to be the only people that walked with joy and peace, amazing relationships, amazing families, amazing homes, and amazing singleness. Why? Because he wanted people around to look at him and go, that's pretty amazing. What are you drinking? What are you taking? How do I get in? I'm talking about that this weekend at North Coast. How do we live lives of salt and light that the world around us goes, I want that. What do you mean you want that? I've been doing everything on my own. I want that. Didn't hit me until my 20s. I lived a life 4 years of no regret. No regret. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to do what Chris Max had. I'm going to do who I want to do. What happens when living a life of no regret becomes your greatest regret? I couldn't find an answer to that question. And I hated being alone. Because when I was alone, I didn't like who I was with. So I always had to be with somebody. And the scariest thing is going back to my apartment at 3 a.m. and knowing I was going to be by myself. So I made sure I was in a state of mind where I could fall asleep. Because I didn't want to lay in a bed with just me. What happens when living a life of no regrets and gratifying yourself gets you to a point of you can't stand yourself? Yeah. See, no one told me God has something so much better for you. So much better for you. And there's a worldly wisdom that's going to oppose that. What Jesus said, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But it sounds good, it looks good, and it seems like wisdom. And James brings it down to a close and says, for where you have envy and selfish ambition, those words are again, there you find disorder and every evil practice. If there's two types of wisdom, there's two types of results. So choose carefully. False wisdom results in an inward and outward confusion and chaos. False wisdom is going to result, following the ways of culture in this world, in an inward and outward confusion and chaos. James, the brother of Jesus, 2,000 years ago, sums up the headlines we are going to watch on the news tonight. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every type of evil practice. Can you look at the world around us and go, man, there's chaos and disorder. Things are not in sync. People are not in harmony. Following the way of this world is not producing the utopia that everyone says we're supposed to have. Something has gone wrong in the soul of humanity by following this type of wisdom. And 2,000 years ago, wisdom from the bunk bed says, I told you so. You're just going to find disorder and every type of evil practice. Inwardly, you're confused, you're frustrated, you're a person of anxiety. And some of you don't even know why. Outwardly, you see your life, your family, the world spiraling in the same chaos. So where's your hope going to be found? If you can't find hope in this world, then you better find hope that comes outside of this world. And that's exactly what James is writing. Man, there's an answer. It's a different type of wisdom. He goes, let me explain the result of that. See, the wisdom that comes from heaven is, first of all, pure, peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, and good fruit. It's impartial. It's sincere. See, peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. There's a lot there in that sentence. Break it down with me quickly. True wisdom, you want to follow biblical wisdom, it's going to result in this. Pure. First of all, it's pure. That's not the absence of sin. but it's the absence of just chaos and confusion. Pure isn't talking about sexual. It's not just the absence of sin. It's the absence of sin, chaos, and confusion. When you hear pure, a lot of times in church, you go, oh, it's sexual. He's talking about sexual. No, he's saying you want to follow godly wisdom. It's not just an absence of sin from your life, but it's also an absence of the things that cause chaos and confusion. It wasn't until I finally tapped out and let go of Chris and found Christ that I realized now things are starting to make sense. No wonder why I was living like I was living. No wonder I could never satisfy me. No wonder I could never find peace. And I started finding purpose. Now, if you would have told me 36 years ago that following God would have made you become a pastor in a church, I would have ran like hell because I hated the people of heaven. I hated church and I hated pastors for good reason. Most of my abuse came from the hands of pastors in church. That was part of my upbringing, literally. Where as a young man, I had to strip down naked and have photos taken of my body because of what a pastor had done to me or a priest. That's humiliating as a little boy. So I'm not about to join his group of people. What I didn't realize the entire time was God was on my side. He hated what was going on in the churches I was in. And he had something better for me. But if you told me you're going to become a missionary or a pastor, no thanks. But man, things started to make sense. Purpose started to happen. I found an answer for shame and guilt. I don't know about you, but I promise you, outside of Jesus, you have not found an answer for your shame and guilt. Guilt is knowing you did something bad. Shame is knowing you're bad. They're two different things. Guilt is knowing you broke something. You broke a law, you broke trust, you broke something. Shame is knowing you're broken. See, there's only a short amount of time after guilt before you know it's shame. And there's nothing in the pharmacy that takes away shame. There's nothing in the drugstore that takes away shame. There's nothing on the street corner that takes away shame. You can numb it, you can deny it, but when you wake up, they're going to be there. And I couldn't find an answer for it. He goes, Chris, let me show you something. This purity just isn't just an absence of sin, but of the chaos and the confusion in your life. You're going to be peace-loving. What is peace-loving? Gentle and kind, being without strife. Peace-loving. You can be in the greatest conflict and still be peace-loving. You can be in the greatest hurricane of events and still find gentleness and kindness. That's peace-loving. It said the wisdom that comes from God is considerate. What's considerate? That's reasonable and forgiving. You're going to be considerate. Choose consideration, to be reasonable and forgiving. Simply treat others how you want to be treated. That's someone that's considerate. You're against being selfish and ambition. You're not putting yourself first, you're putting others first. Hand in hand, it said the wisdom from God is going to be submissive. Submissive is willing to yield, not stubborn or obstinate. You're willing to yield. Oh, Jordan, please help me with this. You're not the church of tomorrow here at North Coast. You're the church of today. And we need people to start showing the adults in our church how to be people that yield. We've somehow in the last 10 years confused Christianity with being stiff-necked, stubborn, and obstinate. And you're not going to get anywhere if you're a stiff-necked, stubborn, obstinate person. Oh, but I'm standing for God's truth. Congratulations, you're doing it wrong, you suck. We can't do that anymore. We need people that are willing to yield. It doesn't mean we give them the truth of God. It means we give others this incredible amount of consideration. We're not stubborn. We're not obstinate. It says this wisdom from God is going to be full of mercy. That just means not judgmental, but generous in mercy. Not judgmental, but generous. How in the world can you give people mercy? Because you've been given it in a dump truck full. And to whom much has been given, much will be required. And the mercy that God has shown me, in spite of who I am and what I've done and who I've done, that he still loved me and accepted me and gave me a life worth living, how in the world can I not be merciful to the people around me? He goes, the wisdom from God, it'll show in your life. This is a checklist. That's why I had you write it down, because we're going fast, and I want you tonight to take it out and go, how am I? How am I being pure, peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy? He said the wisdom from God shows good fruit. It's full of mercy and good fruit. In other words, this wisdom can be seen in how one lives. In how one lives. Not what you know. It's how you live. The last two, it will be impartial and sincere. Impartial mean apply these virtues to everyone. To everyone. May there never be a people group, an ethnicity, a skin color, a dialect, a way of life, a geographic location, a social hierarchy where these virtues don't apply to. Read Jesus. Just on a day-to-day activity, walking into Jericho, to the blind beggar outside who had nothing, to one of the wealthiest men in the city, little Zacchaeus up in a tree. In one afternoon, he stops in the lowest of the hierarchy and the highest, and he treats them both with respect, love, and dignity, and gives them what they need. By the way, big surprise, it's why you're called a Christian. You're a Christian. You're one who's like Christ. We give this uncommon, unconditional grace, love, mercy, wisdom, impartially to everyone, and sincere. It's without hypocrisy, but true and genuine. You're not being a hypocrite. Why? Because this is going to come from within you. It's going to be true and genuine. Because this is the life of Christ in us, isn't it? Start stepping out in these. Live this out. Jordan, I promise you, you're going to start meeting the Spirit. Have you ever thought it was kind of odd that if you're a Christ follower, if you've surrendered your life and given it to Him, we're supposed to have the Spirit of God in our life, but most Christians can't identify where the Spirit is in their life? We hope when we die, somehow we go through a spirit detector in heaven, it goes ding, and you're like, oh God, that was good. Didn't know why that was going to happen. If you have the power of God, the very Spirit of God Himself in your life, shouldn't it be noticeable? You will never, ever be closer to the Spirit of God than when you choose to serve and walk in wisdom, because that's what Jesus did. And you will never, ever be more anti the Spirit of God when you walk in selfish ambition and envy, because that's what He's against. You want to know why a lot of us aren't finding the Spirit of God in our life? Because we're trying to make life about us. That's as anti-Jesus as you can get. That's as anti-Christ as you can get. Did He just call me the Antichrist? Maybe. Maybe. You know what all these characteristics have in quality? They're all dads. They're all the character quality of my dad. Oh, not my earthly dad. He didn't make this list like this. But these are the character qualities of God. This is how Jesus lived. And the only way we can walk in wisdom like this is by walking in the Spirit. This isn't something I produce. I've had very, very little responsibility in making Chris Brown in the last 36 years. I gave up on that dude. Take this list. Ask yourself, how am I doing on this checklist? Which wisdom do I look like? Who among you wants to be wise and have understanding? Anyone? The kid from the bunk bed just gave us a chart. This was my brother. You're supposed to be like Dad. Walk in this. I promise He'll produce it. Because that last line is a doozy. Because for those of you that pursue and sow in peace, they're going to reap peace and righteousness. Right living with God and others. And my bet is there'll be a day where some little dude or some little dudette walks up and just tugs on you and say, you know what? I think you're the smartest person I know. And I never had the heart to tell him what my grades were in high school or college. And I thought, well, you're just little and stupid because you're like me. Both a 24-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a soon-to-be, I think in 2 weeks, a 20-year-old. I love it when my kids sit down and go, hey, Pop, can I just bounce something off of you? And they know I'm not the smartest guy in the room. They just know Dad did something with an idiot West Texas dad who's trying to find wisdom. Because I was given the blueprint. You didn't have to give me a blueprint for the world. I can follow that. And I saw where it ended. So tonight, who wants wisdom and understanding? The checklist is in your hand. Oh, Father, thanks for the wisdom that comes from your book. It is amazing how your words 2,000 years ago apply to every headline we have in our news today. God, now the choice is ours. We can live in this world, be in this world, and of this world. Or we can live in this world and choose a contrary wisdom with the fruit, the results in our lives that you have promised. God, may this room be filled with women and men who choose to stand against a cultural tide and stand in your truth and your love and pursue wisdom. And may you give them the lives worth talking about to friends and family around them, because they can't find that in this world today. Father, thanks for the way you love us, for the second, third, and 2000s chances you've given those of us that have done dumb things, said dumb things, and still have to Google what the capital of Boston is. Thanks for getting us, for loving us, and for using us. Even in the worship that's left tonight, may you find us raising our hearts, maybe even our hands, to you and giving you your worth, separate from what the world finds valuable today. May you give us your spirit to pursue you, simply to pursue you.